Wine staggered into the hospital lobby, gripping her abdomen as another sharp cramp shot through her. Her eyes burned with embarrassment. She hated feeling so helpless, especially just a week into her marriage. Excuse me, she muttered to a nurse who guided her toward the examination room. But when she opened the door, her blood ran cold. There he was, Jungkook, her arranged husband and her doctor. What, you are my doctor? Her voice trembled, a mix of shock and disbelief. Seems like fate isn't giving you much privacy, does it? He arched an eyebrow, his tone teasing sharp, yet there was something in his gaze that made her knees weak. This can be real. He's supposed to be cool, but he's here and he's looking at me like that. I didn't expect. I mean, why are you here? To make sure my wife doesn't fall apart under the pretense of being brave. He sat, stepping closer. Now lie down and don't glare at me. I'm a doctor, professional, remember? His lips curved slightly, a teasing smirk playing on them. Wine gave a shaky laugh, trying to regain composure. Professional, you, the man who yelled at me for spilling tea last night. That was warranted. He said dryly, then his tone softened almost imperceptibly. But you laying there, shivering from cramps, that's unacceptable. You're lucky I'm here. Lucky or doomed, she shot back boldly, raising an eyebrow. He paused, dark eyes glinting, bold, and somehow irresistible. Both, he said smoothly. Now, let's see how much you are really suffering. He guided her onto the examination bench with careful hands, but his fingers pressed her skin longer than necessary under the guise of positioning her. She caught her breath. Chunguk, don't, I mean, be gentle, please. Gentle, me, I'm precise, he said, leaning closer to check her vitals. His stethoscope pressed against her chest, and his dark gaze met hers. Though, seeing you like this, I might forget the professional part. Professional, you have always been a little reckless. She smirked, teasing him back despite the pain. He ignored her jab and gently palpated her abdomen, nothing her reactions. You're tense. Stop tensing unless you want me to lecture you on being dramatic. I'm dramatic because it hurts. She sat bold and slightly different. Even he would admit that. Bold or not you, he smirked, moving closer as if inspecting her reaction to his touch. And yet, delicate, very interesting combination. One felt her face heat up and didn't back down. Interesting, human fragile, don't flatter me, Joan. He chuckled softly, lowering his voice. Fragile, maybe, but strong enough to tease me like this while in pain. That's impressive. You like it when I'm bold, don't you? She whispered, her eyes staring him. Dr. Jones' jaw tightened, hiding a smirk he didn't want her to see. Yes, he leaned closer, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. Maybe, but don't push your luck, Miss Wine. He adjusted the blanket over her legs and checked her vitals, pressing lightly where the cramps were most intense. All under the pretense of medical care, but his touch lingered just a second too long, making her shiver. I didn't expect you to be my doctor. I mean, seeing you like this is shocking. Shocking? He smiled darkly. I thought I would surprise you and maybe test your composure a little. You are impossible, she said softly, though there was a hint of fondness. And you are maddening. He whispered, leaning closer, but in a way I find it impossible to ignore. The room was filled with tension, flirtation, pain, and unspoken emotions. Jungkook treated her with careful hands, teasing words and sharp dominance, but it was clear. Underneath that cold exterior, he was utterly captivated by her. Wine lay back on the hospital bed, gripping the thin blanket as another cramp tore through her. Jungkook pulled the chair close, sitting beside her and watching her every twist. with sharp, calculating eyes. You are holding your breath again. Relax. It won't make it go away faster, Miss Wine. Wine groans softly, easy for you to say. You don't feel this agony. Dr. Jones smirked faintly, brushing a strand of hair from her sweaty forehead. I may not feel it, but I know how to make you forget it for a while. His dark eyes glimmered with mischief, Wine's cheek flushed. And how exactly are you planning to do that, doctor? By keeping you distracted, of course. He reached for her hand, gently holding it with a light, teasing pressure. Tell me, how was your day before this unfortunate attack of cramps? It was fine, I guess, busy with work, trying not to think about my new responsibilities. She gave a small smile, leaning a little closer, almost unconsciously. Responsibilities? He raised an eyebrow, amused, like putting up with me. That's a lot of responsibility, I hear. Maybe, she said boldly, but someone has to keep you in check, Dr. Joan. Can't have you being too terrifying. He chuckled, brushing his thumb across her knuckles. Terrifying? Me? I'm just honest and well attentive. His eyes softened for a fraction of a second as he noticed how fragile she looked laying there. She's so vulnerable. I want to protect her, not just as a husband, but as someone who cares too much. One bit her lip, a nervous laugh escaping. Why does your presence make this worse and better at the same time? Because I'm impossible. He sighed lowly, then his voice softened almost a whisper, and maybe because I can't stop thinking about you like this fragile fool, utterly human. Wine shivered slightly as he leaned closer, brushing her hair behind her ear with unnerving tenderness. Her heart raced, a strange mix of embarrassment and comfort flooding her. Suddenly, the lights flickered briefly, and a commotion echoed from down the hall, a minor emergency pulling the staff's attention. Jungkook's gaze flicked toward the door, tension sharpening his features. Stay still. Don't let anyone see you like this, not like this. He lowered his voice again, teasing but possessive. These movements, they are just ours. One lips curved into a soft smile, heart fluttering. Yours? Huh? You are so possessive. I'm protective, he corrected, gently rubbing her shoulder, and you are far too stubborn. Stop hiding your pain, Miss Wine. I don't like seeing you suffer. Wine's laugh was soft, playful, yet affectionate. I can't help it. I have to act strong, you know. Dr. Jones shook his head, pushing her hair back again, lingering a second longer than necessary. Strong, yes, but even the strongest needs someone to notice, someone to care, and I notice you more than you will ever know. Wine just softened her hand, squeezing his slightly. I like it. The way you notice, she bit her lip, teasing back boldly, even when you pretend you don't. Dr. Jones' dark gaze met hers, a flicker of vulnerability hidden beneath the usual coldness, pretending, yes, that's the hard part. Falling, that part is impossible to hide. The quiet room was filled with subtle intimacies, protective touches, her bold teasing, the flutter of hers, and stolen glances. Outside, the hospital moved in routine chaos, but inside it felt as if time had paused just for them, a private world of flourishing care and unspoken desire. By the time she reached home, her legs felt weak and the medicine dulled some of the pain, but her mind replayed every moment, the teasing, the touches, the way he seemed almost impossibly aware of her. She barely had time to place her back down when the door opened and there he was. You shouldn't have walked home alone. Look exhausted. His voice was low, a mixture of Admonishment and care. I'm fine, really. You don't have to. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him with a soft click, his dark eyes never leaving hers. I said I wouldn't let you suffer alone. Alone? She swallowed, suddenly bold despite the lingering pain. And I'm glad you are here. Guess I need you. You do. He sat, his tone soft but firm. He guided her gently to the couch, draping a blanket over her. Sit, I'll make tea. And I want a full report. Every egg, every gram. Don't hide anything. Wine chuckled weakly, warmth spreading in her chest. You are very controlling, you know that. Dr. Jones smiled, kneeling beside her to check her temperature and pulse. I'll call it protective and maybe selfish. I can't bear the thought of you suffering. Selfish, huh? I could live with that. Her hand brushed his slightly tearfully. He glanced at her, eyes darkening with an emotion he refused to name. Bold, he murmured, then he leaned slightly closer and tempting over the next door. He first tore her with a mix of teasing and care, adjusting her pillows, helping her sip warm tea, rubbing her back gently, and even feeding her small bites of toast when she shivered from the lingering cramps. You are too much. I could get spoiled like this. Good, I won't. You spoiled, you deserve it. Don't you forget it. His fingers pressed hers as he handed her the medicine, lingering just long enough for her pulse to weaken. Finally, he stood watching her with that familiar intensity. Rest now, don't move too much, and remember, I'll be checking on you tomorrow and maybe the day after and the day after that. The day after that, her cheeks flushed at the implication. Jungkook. Yes, his voice was low, teasing, but his eyes betrayed a possessive care. You'll see this is just the beginning. With that, he left the room quietly, the door clicking softly behind him, leaving Wine torn between frustration, embarrassment, and a fluttering, undeniable anticipation. She sank into the couch, heart pounding, a smile playing on her lips. She was married to a man she barely knew, yet he was dangerously captivating, and she had a feeling this was only the start of something she couldn't escape, nor did she want to. Months had passed since that first hospital visit. What began as awkward, teasing interactions during a sudden medical emergency had blossomed into a rhythm only they understood. A delicate dance of dominance and vulnerability, teasing and affection. Wine stood in the kitchen, humming softly as she prepared tea. A warm scarf wrapped around her shoulders. The faint sound of the door unlocking made her pause, and a familiar shadow appeared in the doorway. Dr. Joan Chongo leaned casually against the frame, dark eyes scanning her with the same intensity that had made her heart race months ago. Only now it was tempered with quiet devotion. Making tea again, you know you don't have to overwork yourself for me. I like doing things for you, she replied boldly, setting the cup down. Besides, you always manage to find reasons to fuss over me. His mate pushing off the doorway and walking toward her. Fussing, I call it noticing, caring, protecting, and sometimes reminding you how stubborn you are. Wine laughed softly, stepping closer, and yet I think you secretly enjoyed. Dr. Jones' lips twitched, though he quickly masked it with a dark, commanding look. Secretly, perhaps, but don't get used to me admitting it. She reached for his hand, bold as ever, letting her fingers intertwine with his. I like that about you, she whispered. Even when you act cold, I can feel how much you care. His gaze softened, and for the briefest moment, The gold unreadable mask he always wore slipped. Care more than I should admit, more than I want to, but you have made it impossible to hide it. Wine smiled, her heart fluttering. Impossible, huh? Sounds familiar. He leaned closer, dark eyes gleaming with both amusement and something deeper. You have always had a way of making things impossible for me, Wine. And then, just as quickly as the moment had begun, he rested his forehead against hers, letting the closeness speak for what words could not. But impossible or not, I won't ever stop caring for you, teasing you, protecting you, even when you think I'm too harsh, too cold, too John. While laughed softly, leaning into him, I don't mind, she muttered. I like it you like this too, don't you? He didn't answer with words. Instead, he tightened his hold on her, a subtle protective pressure, and whispered against her ear, more than you will ever know. The room was quite then filled with an unspoken understanding to hers that had found a rhythm, a love that was bold, teasing, and dangerously captivating. And though the world outside continued as usual, inside that apartment they had created their own universe, one where every glance, every touch, every word held weight. A universe they didn't want to escape because for Wine and Jungkook, this was only the beginning of a lifetime of stolen moments, flirty battles, and unspoken promises.